weak Prime Minister has lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, lost control of spending, debt, and inflation, and now he's lost control of his own cabinet. We've learned in the Globe and Mail today that his finance minister is having her people speak out against him. She wants a large deficit of $40 billion. He, on the other hand, wants an even larger deficit on steroids, bigger than $40 billion. We know that Canadians are going to lose from all this inflation, but which one of those two is going to win?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians lose when the Conservative leader votes against a dental plan for seniors. Canadians lose when he stands against a tax break for all Canadians over the next few months. Canadians lose when he blocks a school food program that's going to save parents $800 on groceries while putting more food in kids' bellies. Every single time the Leader of the Opposition gets up in this House, he stands against supports for Canadians, against growing the economy, against supporting a better future for all Canadians, because he's only in it for himself.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, it's not clear that the finance minister is actually in it with him. She said, according to the Globe and Mail, the Prime Minister's office has given internal direction for an aggressive and possibly costly policy agenda that threatens to blow past spending targets she has already publicly stated for the government. She promised the deficit would be capped at $40 billion, acknowledging that if it went over, it would cause even more inflation. That means hungry Canadians lined up at food banks. So once again, will the government meet the minister's promise to keep the deficit under $40 billion?
Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, while we once again hear the Leader of the Opposition talking down Canada's economy, talking down Canadians, the Bank of Canada, it looks like it's going to be decreasing interest rates once again because inflation is back down within the target range. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is also perplexed because he doesn't let his own MPs speak out on anything that he doesn't stamp and approve. He has people follow them around with tape recorders so that they don't speak to media about anything that he doesn't pre-approve. That's not being Canadians' voices in this place, Mr. Speaker.
You were doing so very well for the first number of questions in terms of members respecting that only one of their colleagues at a time had the floor. I'll ask members to please withhold their comments and let the one member speak and the one member answer. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister has admitted that deficits drive inflation. His minister admitted the same thing. That's why she said the deficit would not go above $40 billion. That was her guardrail. They weren't going to smash into that guardrail. She's like a bus driver saying she's going to come just short of hitting that $40 billion guardrail, and then some crazy lunatic comes in, grabs the steering wheel, and jerks it sharp to the left through the guardrail. Does he realize there's 41 million Canadians that are going to go off the cliff in that bus?
It was so good.
Order. Order. Colleagues, the longer I take to get order in this place, the shorter question period in terms of the number of questions we'll have to ask. I ask for members, please, exercise discipline. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while the Leader of the Opposition continues to talk down Canadians and the Canadian economy and indeed Canada, let me once again put it on the record. Canada is the best country in the world. And we, as Canadians, are stepping up, got us through the pandemic. Canadians got us through the challenge of high inflation. Canadians will keep building a positive future for themselves by being there and showing up for each other. Unlike the Leader of the Opposition, who's voted against every measure that has been put on the table to support Canadians over the past years and continues to be in it only for himself.
block questions.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Bailleul-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, in the context of bullying and religious practices in schools, where people are asked to move to leave space for prayer, the Minister for Immigration says that the Premier of Quebec is always attacking Muslims. He keeps talking about the freedom of expression, but he seems to find it difficult to tell the difference between Notre Dame in Paris and a park in Montreal. What does the Prime Minister have to say about this? Is he for or against this kind of statement? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we will always defend individual rights and freedoms and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the right to believe and to express oneself is something that our government will always defend. Of course, we will continue to protect these rights throughout our country. The Honourable Member for Bailleul-Chambly. For a bit more details, it's not a question of secularism versus one religion, but versus all religions. The vast majority of Muslims in Quebec are perfectly happy, integrated, and of course welcome in Quebec. The secularism of state institutions is there and is necessary for equality for all. Can the Prime Minister at least ask his minister to wait to see what the government of Quebec will do before he starts self-immolating in indignation? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Quebec is like all Canadians, cherish individual rights and freedoms, the freedom of expression, the freedom of belief and credence, the right and freedom to assemble. We have fundamental rights and freedoms that we will always defend. I understand that sometimes a community may be attacked, as we see sometimes with politics and policies throughout the country, but here the Liberal federal government will always defend individual freedoms.
The Honourable Member from Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, get this. The Conservatives bring in a tax cut for the richest CEOs corporations, costing Canadians $60 billion, but they vote against taking the GST off of home heating and diapers. And the Prime Minister sided with them. Why does the Prime Minister side with the Conservatives and big corporations against working people?
I think that towel's a bit too tight today.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we were equally puzzled when the Conservatives voted against a tax break for Canadians for the next few months. People are facing challenges right now, counting their pennies at the grocery store as they try to make ends meet. And this Parliament stepped up to deliver a tax break for all Canadians, but the Conservative leader forced his MPs to vote against a tax break for Canadians. So even though he wanders around the country talking about taxes, hanging out with certain questionable Diagolon folks, he continues to vote against the interests of Canadians.
We're back to Diagolon again?
À l'ordre, s'il vous plaît.
Order, please. Order. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Dead.
Mr. Speaker, make it make sense. The healthcare system is collapsing and the Prime Minister is sitting on his hands.
Come on, why are we muting the mic, man?
Colleagues, je peux pas
I can't quite hear what the Honourable Member is currently saying. Order, please. I ask the Honourable Member for Burnaby South to start his question again.
Prime Minister's excuses instead.
Make it make sense, Mr. Speaker. The healthcare system is collapsing and the Prime Minister is sitting on his hands. Currently, 7 times out of 10, François Legault encourages Quebecers to pay for their healthcare. Does the Prime Minister find this acceptable? If so, why? And why is he abandoning people? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we will always respect provincial jurisdictions. We have also invested $200 million. We will invest $200 billion over the next years in healthcare throughout the country to deliver a greater number of general physicians with stronger healthcare, better mental healthcare, and better support for our workers. We are working for the healthcare system. We are here to defend our public healthcare system, and we are here to work hand in hand with provinces who want to deliver for better healthcare for all.